Hey guys, how's it going? So, going into the new league, kind of scrambling to make a new build or just get a league starter build ready. I figured I would go ahead and make this video because I was going to do a reaction video and get that done. If anybody's feeling froggy and really wants to see that, I could try to get it out by next week. But I pretty much recorded everything and then I was clipping it together and then I was like, you know what? Screw this. Let's do something that's a lot more helpful. So anyway, this is pretty much what I do when I'm strapped for time or a friend asks, hey, there's a build I want to do, or here's a guide, what do you think? This is pretty much my method of looking at guides, figuring out what looks good, and then either coming up with something new or what I think would work for that person. Now, I am going to be looking at one of Ziz's guides here in this, and I do have some concern with it, because with the nerfs that happen, and we'll see what kind of happens with some of the numbers. And yes, this is like the second take because I might have done this muted. But anyway, we'll get to that here in a second. But the main thing with the patch notes, my thoughts on them, I like nerfs. I like games getting harder. Yes, but there's a right way to do it and kind of a questionable way to do it, which some of the things in here is very questionable, while some of them are, yes, let's do this, right? So I'm excited about a lot of it, but there is some weird stuff. So I do understand why a lot of people are upset with a lot of things that they did here. It is really weird. Probably the biggest thing I'm upset with is they just buffed Act 1 and made Act 1 harder. I really want the end game to be there, or both at the same time and meet in the middle, not beginning to end. I think they should do the end to the beginning as far as increasing difficulty. But hey, maybe that's just me. I don't know. I am really curious for two things, though. What is player retention this league, and what is player retention for just somebody who literally starts the game and tries to do Act 1 and possibly quits? I am really curious about that number more than anything this league. So, really curious to see what happens with that. Now, the other thing I guess I didn't mention, I am going to cover what I think the best kind of builds to look out for and what I would recommend. I think melee is still great. So pretty much champions probably looking good. Bleed I would stay away from, but yeah, pretty much champion, gladiator, slayer, that kind of stuff. Marauder stuff, I think chieftain is going to be great. There's definitely some good cyclone builds. You can use the totems for good league start. So chieftain looking good. Berserker and Juggernaut also really solid. Raider I think is going to be amazing. That's one reason why I'm starting Raider. Traps with the Saboteur is going to be great. There's going to be some builds probably for everything, but these are kind of the standout options. Summoners, I think, are fine. Self-cast, I would stay away from. Stay away from self-cast, most likely. It's probably a trap. They nerfed a lot of the stuff as far as mana costs, so that could feel pretty bad depending on what you're using. Other than that, though, I think you could do some stuff with Elementalist still. Definitely want to look at the numbers, but totems, yeah, you can't forget totems. Maybe that a Hierophant or a Scion with totems looks pretty good still. But yeah, mines, I can't speak enough on mines to say anything with that. And then poison still looks okay. Kind of concerned myself with poison, but I think it's always had the ability to do a lot of damage, so we'll see what happens with that. Overall, though, and I played poison when it was like completely nerfed into the ground, so I definitely love my poison builds. I'll definitely be trying that. I definitely want to do a totem slam build. I'm doing the spectral shield throw to start. I might even do a trap build this league. Who knows? I definitely want to try Elementalist at some point. But yeah. Moving on, though, into what I look for in a guide. So a friend of mine, comes to me wanting to do Essence Drain. First thing I do is look up a guide for it. So let's see. Let's go ahead and swap over to the Ziz guide real quick. And I might have to restart it, but we'll just go through the thing. So I go look, I bring up Ziz's video, which I don't have the audio through, otherwise I'd play that real quick. But, I find the paste bin, put it in, Essence Drain isn't my forte, so I got to go looking for something. And the first thing I see here, and I already have a couple of problems. First, there's a Cluster Jewel. Newer players or people for league starters might not go for Cluster Jewels too quickly, so that's kind of awkward. There is another setup down here that has 2 of them, so that gets a little weird. Then you have, or sorry, here's the two setup. Then I start looking at the damage numbers. The damage numbers looks great, but what's the gear going to be? And this tree looks very late game tree. So we're going to go with the bare minimum life tree. And so you can see the damage drop. Next, I want worst case scenario damage. 0 there, turn infusion off. Think that might give damage. Those didn't do anything for damage, so unless those do, that's cast speed. Okay, there we go. And we're on Cirrus. Cool. 500,000 is great. You can do that. 400,000 is my baseline that I look for is 400,000. So now I'm looking at Essence Drain. Not too bad. So looking at the gear. Oh, this is late game gear. Let's go to the early game gear. That feels pretty oof. Down to 135,000. Looking at Ball Blight. Okay. Still not the worst. You can still get close. Whoops, wrong one. You can still get pretty close to almost 300, 400,000. Looks like with everything up, probably. These are just utility flasks. They don't give any actual damage. Then we've got skills. Let's look at Essence Drain here. Well, it's a 6 link. And it's level 4 Empower and level 21. Let's pull that down. Let's get rid of the Empower because you're probably leveling that early on. And now we're down to 86,000. And here's where my concern is. While that still isn't the worst thing, and you know, this is kind of early gear, so we'll go to mid gear, and I'll be changing that right now. So we'll go to mid gear. Let's say you do have a 6 link at that point, and you've got your Empower going. I'm just concerned getting to this point right here that you go and you attack a pack in maps, and as soon as you do, something doesn't die. As soon as that happens with Essence Drain Contagion, it feels so bad. It is one of the worst things, one of the worst feelings when you're playing a skill. And if that happens, that is a huge oof moment. So I am concerned. But, you know, it looks like it can still work. But that's where my concern is. You know, what is, you know, where does it hit to where, wait, what? Why did that go down so low? That's weird. You know, when does it, oh, it says, okay, gotcha. There we go, maximum. But when does it get to that point to where it feels bad, and, you know, when is it? Now, again, I haven't really played Essence Drain, so I could be just, you know, just speaking nonsense here. But that's my concern. I mean, I've played Essence Drain once, but yeah, that's forever ago. So, like, I could be crazy, but I am kind of scared to recommend this to a new player. Now, as far as experienced players, they're going to be able to get here pretty quickly. You know, you have your late game gear. You know, you end up finally getting at least one cluster jewel in your very defensive setup. Boom, you got damage. You're good. Easy game, right? No big deal. Again, I did tick off the wither stacks and stuff and the infusion. So those would be on. So that 86 or whatever thousand damage isn't as bad as it seems. But I want my worst case scenario, right? When I look at a build, I want the worst case scenario. Now, as far as the gear goes, there's notes here for tips on everything, how to level, where to get everything. Great guide. 10 out of 10 guide. They're great. He's got a team now that does these. It is amazing. Keep up the good work, guys. But, you know, some of these things, and I did listen to some of the video while I was, like, you know, getting a drink and whatnot. I didn't really hear any, you know, disclaimers saying, like, or disclaimer, whatever, saying, you know, maybe not the best for a new player kind of situation. So again, that's what I'd be wary of. Check that out, figure out, you know, what the worst case scenario for a build is, and then kind of make your decision from there. Now, with that in mind, how do I come up with a build from scratch, essentially doing the same thing from build guides that aren't set up this good? Because this, you could just go to this guide and be like, oh, cool. You know, you do a little tweak here and there and you're done. Easy game. But let's go look at what I did and how I kind of set up my builds myself. So let's see, where's the other one here? Ooh, wait, wrong one. Scuffed video, there we go. Now, on mine, I have 400,000 damage right now. Again, that's what I look for. But how did I get here? So, the things I look for, and if I actually was doing editing, they would pop up right here on screen. So maybe they will, maybe they won't if I have time. So first, I want to know a skill tree idea. What does the tree look like? Luckily for me, I know the tree pretty well, so I can just click through and figure out what I want really quick and easy. Items, right? What kind of items are going to be used on it? Identifying what causes your damage. Is it, in my case, I'm doing spectral shield throw, so it's shield armor. So that's the main thing I need, is a shield with decent armor. What kind of skills am I going to use, right? Herald of Ice, Hatred. I don't have Ancestral Protector on here. That would increase my damage, actually, that I don't have. See, that's while doing this, I found a better thing because I literally used my own method here. And then what is the final damage number? So, worst case scenario here, I have just shield on just so I could have hypothermia. That's it. Now, what do I have for gear? Okay, I can get rid of this. That's mainly accuracy. If that starts going down, I'm definitely going to lose some damage there, but I think I got to where it'll stay at 100%. There was conversion. I have to have conversion on this. I probably could keep this on. Literally all that's just there is to show that I have conversion. I can get it several different ways. You can get it on a weapon. You can get it on, some on the gloves. You can get it on the Watcher's Eye. Those are pretty cheap just if you're doing just the conversion part. So that's pretty easy to do. So I went ahead and I'm like, okay, that's fine. I can go in and just do conversion like that. So I just put in a number that's pretty high. That's maybe a late game amulet with that kind of stats. Plus, if I'm doing health and resist. So we can get rid of that. Now we're down to 300. That's pretty easy to have elemental damage on 2 rings with just health and a little bit of resist. Same with the belt. So I can keep those. 300,000. Not too bad, right? Now the shield. This actually has a decent bit of armor. So let's just go low, right? Let's just go all the way down to 250. That should put me at about almost 2,000. Yeah, there we go. So I save, and now we're at 240,000. No flask, nothing else. Pretty consistent. What are my skills though? Okay, so let's go ahead and go down to 21. That really doesn't do anything because it's attack based. But let's go to a 5 link. What if I only have 5 link going on here? Well, I'm still at 181,000. Not bad. I can deal with that. Also, the extra clear and chaining shards. They're doing about 100. Still pretty good. And if I can get bone chill on something, that's even better. So I could do that with some kind of cold snap auto casting thing, or even the frost bomb, I think chills. Either way, whatever has the highest duration is probably what I'm going to go with. If I can automate that, cool. Literally hatred, precision, and yes, I do have precision up to 40 just so I can get the 100% hit chance. I will be getting accuracy on gear. That is just going to be the plan. However I have to get accuracy, I will get that. But Blood Rage for some more damage. Herald of Ice, precision, hatred. I might not even have precision. I might do something else. Getting an Ancestral Protector in here will increase the damage. But, I've already found my damage number that I'm kind of looking for. All I got to do is get the shield at 2,000. That's pretty easy to get. And then, with just 5 link here, I'm already hitting good damage. Early on, really early on, 4 link. Now, again, these are level 20. So, let's say early on maps. As long as I can get the shield, then I've got decent, okay damage. It's not too bad on a 4 link. So that's kind of the idea. Then you get the tabula, and then you throw in whatever. Maybe hypothermia doesn't work. Maybe I need to try a Trinity setup. Whatever. But it's good enough. It looks good enough to start in with an okay shield and get going. And I have 5,000 health here currently. The other idea, yes, this is 98, but we could get rid of, let's just get rid of this. So there's even more health gone. But 4.6, I'll take it. Pretty easy to get health on this build. The idea would be to get rid of up to here, or maybe even here, like this, if I take these out. And then do 2 cluster jewels. But I'm kind of hoping to keep this wheel at the very least, is the idea. And again, find the damage, see your worst case scenario, and come up with a tree. Now, how did I get some of these items in the tree in the first place? I guess I should have done this a little earlier, but we'll do it right now. I had 2 other trees. So here we go. Here's an in-game tree from some dude who has crazy gear and crazy cluster jewels and everything else. Also, it's 3.14. Let's go ahead and bump it up. Okay, now we're at 3.15, and they lost 700,000 damage. But, you know, they have a crazy tree. I didn't want to do crit, so I didn't go with this tree, right? But if you look, there's still that dodge. There's still the Wind Dancer. There's still some of the similarities. So the tree I kind of did on my own. You know, I pathed this way, I think, in mind to save a few points, right? I don't know what this is. Maybe I need those points. But yeah, actually, I think that's just the bouncing thing. So, but they have a ton of damage. Well, let's, you know, see what their worst case scenario is with their gear, right? So this is in-game gear, worst case scenario. I think upping this lowers damage. There we go. We'll go ahead and get rid of their stacks. Consecrated Ground doesn't do that anymore. Power charges, nope. And there we go. There's all their bonuses. Now we're down to 1.4. I think they have Flask on. We'll turn Flask off. But they have good gear. They have great gear. And they're at 1 million. So, you know, there's kind of the questionable part. Where does that kick in? Okay, so there's an example. So now I go to another example. And then I started playing around with the stuff here just to see what they're doing. You know, I look at their skills. Herald of Ice, Precision, Hatred, Frostbomb, Blood Rage, Ancestral Protector, Steel Skin, Leap Slam. Okay. And they have Frostbite. I don't know if Frostbite is... Oh, Frostbite's just coming from a ring. So I could get that on a ring. Definitely a bit more late game. You know, trying to get that. Going to be a little bit harder. So this one, they even had a specific jewel. For the Timeless Jewels, we get rid of the Watcher's Eye, see what happens. And I think they've got some stuff ticked that we can get rid of too. Chains. I also think one of these was like a Deadeye too, I think. I didn't pay attention to that. But we'll go and get rid of that. Have you crit recently? Sure. You know, 400,000. And, you know, I've already put the Princess Saber on here. Got rid of most of the Flask. You know, there is some good gear here, but nothing too crazy that I couldn't, you know, dumb down to get just a good starter going. And I'm mainly wanting this for the Zoom Clear with Raider. So do they have Raider? Yes, they do. Or I switched it either one. And, you know, they don't have Tailwind, but they have kind of a similar tree to what I was going for. And so this kind of fit very well. They weren't doing the crit. So then I kind of can mimic some of their gear if I want to, or take it in another direction. So I figure out the items, again, skill tree idea, items, what skills I can use with the build, and the damage number needs to be right with pretty much worst case scenario damage. And that's how I figure out my builds, and that's how I start from scratch. So, you know, like the totem build, there's no looking up anything. The totem build for the slam totems, I'm just going to have to make from scratch. I'll plug things in, I'll figure out the damage numbers, I'll see where it comes up to, I'll figure out some easy gear to get, and then I'll see how hard it is to scale. Now, for newer players, yes, this is one of those get good situations. You got to learn a little bit, that's just part of it, but I mean, that's kind of the fun of it for me, is learning more about, you know, each new game I get into. So hopefully you're wanting to learn a little bit, you get in there, you figure out that you need... you know, you can get a ring with certain stats. The Frostbite, how hard is it for you? Can you get more currency, right? Figure out your baseline items that you know you can get, plug those in, and then kind of weigh out how easy it is for you to get toward the end game. Could I get to that 5 million damage one day? Probably. But where is that going to fall? Would I want to keep the Elemental Overload, or will I want to switch to crit after a while? See, that's going to be a decision I'm going to have to make with this build later on. But that's how I do it. That's how I get started, especially on a short notice, or if a friend needs help and I don't really have experience making a build, or I don't have one backlogged out of my hundreds of builds that I've got. So, anyway, guys, let me know in the comments if you have any other tips for anybody. You know, this is just trying to help. Hopefully this helps somebody. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz and whatnot. Usual links will be down in the description below. Twitch, Twitter, Discord, stuff like that, guys. But hopefully this helps. Anyway. Thanks for watching. Have a good one. Good luck in the league. Hopefully you have good RNG and whatnot. Find that tabula from Hillock. But anyway, guys, that'll be it for this one. Thanks for watching. Have a good one. Peace!